Hi everyone, thank you for attending our talk. My name is Madison Clarke, and today I will be discussing our study on the trade-offs between social and personal information use and the ways in which information transfers between individuals and wild vervet monkeys. This research was a part of Christina Nord's doctoral thesis project. Our research involves studying individual and social behavior. We use both experimental and observational evidence to study social learning in wild, non-provisioned vervet monkeys on the Samara Private Game Reserve in South Africa. Vervet monkeys are small, omnivorous cercopithecines that live in Africa. They spend their time in both trees and on the ground, and they live in troops comprised of females and their young, with males migrating between troops. We have a population comprised of 3 troops with overlapping home ranges containing approximately 140 individuals. Today, I would like to discuss 2 questions. The first being if social learning is occurring, and if so, which transmission routes is the information following? My next question is whether or not learning correlates with individual attributes, including personality. To answer these questions, we conducted a field experiment which we've called the water patch. Here is an example of how we conducted our field experiments. We would walk ahead of the troops and place a ceramic dish with a small amount of water in their path. We would then walk away and wait for the monkeys to find the patch. We used this method because providing them with human food would interfere with their life histories. Additionally, this population experiences periods of low water availability, which would make the water more enticing. Drinking is also a behavior the monkeys already know and use. We were not interested in whether or not they could solve the patch, and were rather interested in whether information about the patch would be transmitted socially. The simple task of solving the patch by drinking from the dish allowed us to avoid animals not being able to solve it due to cognitive capabilities. In this video, we can see an individual solving the patch by drinking from the dish. Across 2 study periods, we had 81 successful trials. We had 9 unsuccessful and 1 ignored trial, in addition to 113 participants, with 65 being able to solve the task. Once we had our data, we used network-based diffusion analysis, or NBDA, to determine if learning to drink from the patch was socially transmitted, and if so, which networks were responsible for the information transfer. We used 3 networks to conduct this analysis. The within-experiment muzzle contact network included dyads where one individual contacted another individual's muzzle with its own muzzle. The visual observation network included dyads where one monkey looked at another monkey while it was drinking for 2 or more seconds. Lastly, the co-presence network used dyads where one individual was within arm's reach of the patch while another was drinking from the patch. We found that approximately 27% of learning occurred socially. Additionally, we found that the co-presence network accounted for most of the information transfer. We found small evidence that visual observation played a role in information transfer, while there was no evidence that transmission followed the muzzle contact network. We found that females were 34 times more likely to learn socially than males, and higher-ranking individuals were 10 times more likely to learn socially than lower-ranking individuals. We also have evidence that learning occurred with personal information, or asocially. Approximately 73% of acquisitions occurred using personal information. We found an effect of age, neophilia, and exposure to the task. Juveniles were 5 times more likely to solve the task using personal information compared to adults. Novelty-seeking or high neophilic individuals were 1 time more likely to learn socially or asocially compared to low neophilic individuals, and animals that had previous exposure to the task were 1 time more likely to use personal information when solving the task compared to those who had no previous exposure to the patch. Our results suggest that using social information may be dependent on the social environment. Because females and higher-ranking individuals were more likely to use social information when solving the patch, it seems that they may have been able to access the information easier when compared to males or low-ranking individuals. Females do stay in their natal troops for the most part, and this could make it that they know the individuals better and feel more comfortable being able to approach an individual while it's in the process of solving the patch, and therefore learning how to solve the patch. Because previous exposure and age had an effect on transmission, we suggest that experience may play a role in whether or not an individual will use personal information when solving the task. It could be possible that juveniles just don't have enough life experience to understand how to use information they've acquired, and therefore mostly rely on personal information to be able to solve the task. Taken together, our results demonstrate that the context of the learning scenario is necessary when trying to understand the transmission of information. Thank you again for attending our talk. I welcome any questions.